But at the same time, you didn't say how to prevent this. So government can actually limit the entry of K-pop in our country as well, so that there will be equality between our own nationality in Malaysia and international artists. Okay, for my first point, cultural exchange is a fundamental aspect of artistic expression. By acknowledging and respectfully integrating various cultural elements, K-pop artists celebrate diversity, fostering understanding and appreciation among global um, audience. And this exchange promotes cultural dialogue and dismantles barriers. Is also contributing to a more inclusive and interconnected world. Next is from economic aspect, which is global appeal and revenue. Okay, the incorporation of diverse cultural influences within K-pop enhances its global appeal, attracting fans from diverse backgrounds. This broadens the market reach, resulting in increased album sales, concert attendance, merchandise purchases, and streaming numbers. Ultimately, this not only benefits the industry, but also contributes significantly to the economy by promoting cultural exchange through a profitable medium. So when there is exchange between um, outside, between international and our country, that will enhance our currency financial and will boost economy more further. Um, in conclusion, rather than regretting the rise of cultural appropriation, we also advocate for the responsible and respectful inclusion of diverse cultures within K-pop. This not only enriches the genre artistically, but also fosters a more connected and prosperous global community. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to the Deputy Leader of Opposition for the speech. The speaker spoke for 3 minutes and 35 seconds. Now, I would like to call upon the government whip. Here.
Good morning, and ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is about rising act of cultural appropriation in K-pop. We as the government believe that this statement is true. To rebut the narrative of opposition side, I will respond to each points that are highlighted in the motion. The first opposition speakers had said that K-pop's cultural appropriation can bring good culture to Malaysia and support cultural exchange. We believe that this statement is wrong because teenagers especially would follow the influence that brought by Korean's culture. We can see that many people, especially teenagers, likes to follow the Korean cultures like dancing and styling in a bad styling way. And the second opposition speaker had said that K-pop cultural appropriation can contribute to for this point, I think this is wrong because if we can follow the Korean culture, like concert and the entertainment industry, why cannot we follow other nations' culture like Malaysians' own culture and maybe Indonesians or the Philippines, like maybe we can use other nations' entertainment point to bring our interconnected world to our own nation. In addition, she also said that K-pop cultural appropriation can bring market growth in Malaysia. We oppose this statement because we, as the Malaysian government and the Malaysian society, we can also do the maybe like concert or entertainment industry in our own nation. Like maybe we can do concert and influence our celebrity to make the influence more to our teenagers and society in this world. And now, to summarize about our statement, as the government, our first speaker said that the points in the K-pop's appropriation practice can preserve the cultural integrity in Malaysia. Korean's culture can be misrepresented and it would lead to bad influence problems in Malaysian's culture. After that, our second speaker said that K-pop's cultural practices can give a bad impact to the Malaysian's culture. For instance, it can influence to teenagers to be fanatic on the idol and leads to be influenced and wants to follow the Korean culture instead of the local practices culture in Malaysia. She also said that we as the government has to protect our ethical behavior in Malaysia. If the K-pop culture has made their way in local society's heart, it may lead to fanatic teenagers and they can literally do anything in their power to the Korean practices even if it crosses the ethical behavior and law of Malaysia's nation. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to the government whip for the speech. The speaker spoke for 3 minutes and 38 seconds. We shall now hear the speech from the opposition whip. The floor is yours.
All right, before we continue to our case, first I want to clarify the government's clarifications about our motion today. First of all, the Prime Minister said that they want to preserve the cultural integrity. However, it does not correspond with the government whip statement. The government whip statement said that if we want to do concert, they can also bring the Indonesian culture into our country. However, the Prime Minister just stated that they want to improve our own culture. They don't want another culture to came in. However, the government will just say that they want to bring in the Indonesian culture. That does not correspond at all. And the government will also say that, and the Deputy Prime Minister said that it will make bad impact into our country if we rise in K-pop culture. However, she also stated that they want to do a content review. The content review itself is a way to limit the cultural appropriation in our country, just as our deputy of opposition leader said, we cannot take everything into negative account. We also have to see it in a positive light. We can take the rising appropriation culture in K-pop as an example for us to enhance our own culture and get our culture into another country. We can do that also. And the opposition and the government will also say that it will misrepresent it and give a bad influence into our country. It doesn't correspond with our analysis because the raising K-pop cultural can enhance many things. And now I will summarize the points of all of our side. Firstly, our opposition leaders said that we can collab with the Korean country to make our culture more renowned. With this way, we can, as we already know that the K-pop culture already renowned globally. So if we collab with them, we can also make our culture renowned. So the Prime Minister stated that they wanted to preserve our culture, right? So with this alternative, we can also preserve our culture and also enhance our culture by collaborating with them. And also, rising in K-pop culture in our country doesn't diminish our own culture because we have a we have a proper foundation, right? As the government said. And also it can improve the cultural exchange between our country. It can also embrace diversity. Now I want to question the government side. The government side said that we have many race in our country, such as Indian, Chinese, Malays, Sarakians, or the Borneos. So I want to question that why does we want to reject the K-pop culture into our country? Why don't we respect the other culture too? How can we respect other culture in our country, but we cannot respect the another country culture? Okay. Now our deputy opposition, our deputy leader of opposition said that it will have global appeal and revenue. This is because there are many tourism that will came into our country. Okay. So firstly, we know that the K-pop is globally renowned and they want to go into many countries to make concert. So, however, there are some fans that are not having enough time or they don't have time to go in another country or in their own country. So, if K-pop idol come into our country, another fans in another country can also come into our country. So that will increase tourism and increase our economic situations. All right, so it can also open the door to economic and policy opportunities. But just as our deputy leader of opposition said that it will increase our economy, the transaction, the import and export. If culture is in K-pop and foreign culture are rising in our country, it can increase our import and export. If the kimchi, for example, I take kimchi for example, there are many people that have love for kimchi nowadays. So if kimchi can get into our country, we can also send our product into their country, so that will increase import and export, and that can increase our economy. To summarize my point, we firmly stand that rising cultural appropriation is bringing more goods in a political, economic, and social aspect. It doesn't diminish our own culture, as we can also enhance our culture itself. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to the opposition whip for the speech. The speaker spoke for 5 minutes and 17 seconds. Now, both the government and opposition are being given 1 minute to prepare their reply speech. The time is up. I call upon the speaker from the opposition side to deliver their reply speech. Here, here.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So my reply speech is, I think we should focus on the positive side. Government should enforce regulation that benefit both our own culture and K-pop culture, and use this opportunity to benefit our country. Thus, we as the opposition side strongly stand with our opinion that K-pop will bring more good and strengthen our ties with South Korea. Thus, increase our economic by promoting cultural exchange, like my deputy opposition said and my opposition wing. With a good economic, our people will live in harmony and we can achieve to the first class country mindset through its openness up to the K-pop culture. Thank you.
Thank you to the speaker from the opposition side. Now, to conclude, let's welcome the speaker from the government side to give the reply speech.
Replies on the speech. In wrapping up our argument, it is essential to emphasize the need for safeguarding our Malaysian cultural heritage. The concern raised about the influence of Korean culture are rooted in a genuine desire to preserve our traditions and values. As Malaysian, we must actively work to strike a balance, appreciating the richness of our own culture while being discerning about external influence. This isn't about rejecting diversity, but ensuring that our unique identity remains intact for future generations. Remember, that our concern about the impact of Korean culture on Malaysian heritage stem for a genuine commitment to preserving our identity. While cultural exchange is enriching, we must navigate carefully, avoid diluting the essence of our traditions. Striking a balance between appreciating global influence and safeguarding our unique Malaysian cultural fabric is crucial. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you to the speaker from the government side. That is all for this round's debate session. On behalf of the House, I thank the adjudicators for their assistance. I congratulate all the debaters on their performance. Now, the host will assign all the adjudicators to the breakout room to discuss, while the debaters please remain in this room. In the meantime, you can go for a short break, drink some water, or go to the toilet, but please make it short, as there will be some brief feedbacks from the adjudicators.
Hello, hi. Thank you for waiting. And also thank you for the first round of intermediate debate. I applaud each and every of you to be able to speak up in this Saturday morning. Um, so with the motion, this house regrets the rising act of cultural appropriation in K-pop. It was a unanimous decision coming from the adjudicators that the opposition win the round. And the best speaker goes to Shahinda with margin of 6.33333. Okay. So the reason being the first one, if you can see, is the timekeeper on or no, miss? Okay. So the main issue is not the main issue, probably the main reason why we chose the government versus opposition here. The government, the losing side is because we can identify many inconsistency coming from the government side. So the first one is upon Prime Minister speaking up and sharing your definition on cultural appropriation, but somehow the arguments laid out by the government side is not consistent with the definition. Somehow the definition is not just merely reading out definition, what is actually the meaning of cultural appropriation, but rather that would set up your case on when you say cultural appropriation is adopting the element without respecting culture, etc., etc. So your point has to comply with that as well. When you have arguments with such definition, as pointed out by Shahinda, she's very well identified these clashes, and somehow your point and your stand, your definition does not stand. Because when you are at one side, be it a government or opposition, we would want to know your definition, which is your stance. What do you want to carry in the debate? Because um, we also see that there is inconsistency from speaker A, B, and C from government side when it's not actually tally with your stance. I will say stance because somehow we need that stance for us to actually value the debate, or else we're just giving we were only receiving arguments as to why is you guys are regretting this motion. And also I can see that there are many proposals coming from speaker A, speaker B, or speaker C, uh, simply because probably uh, the actual proposal is not coming from the prime minister. Because the way we do it is when you have a proposal from prime minister, and the job of second speaker and third speaker is to somehow support your prime minister. But somehow we can see that I mean, your flag line also mentioned our proposal, we think we should, is actually being mentioned by second and third speaker. And somehow that leads to listening to many proposals coming from one stance, right? So best if you, as a government side, when you propose on regretting the rise of uh, the rising act of cultural appropriation, give us one reason, one main stance why, and reason out based on that. You don't give late definition. You don't give like later justification as to why. I see it as the difference between argument and proposal. Proposal here means how do you want to cater it? We call it under debate, we call it mechanism. And mechanism can only be mentioned by the first speaker and first speakers only. The second speaker and third speaker would not mention mechanism as to how you want to carry your stance. The first speaker is the only one who should do that. Because once the second speaker and third speaker is doing it, to us, we listen as, oh, you have another proposal. But we also see that, oh, you are now you only talk about mechanism as to how you want to carry your motion. So that's when it's becoming unfair for the other sides. And also to us adjudicators, we deem it as late for us to actually credit that. All right. And I think the best way to make yourself being consistent is to adhere to the theme of the round, which is media. So whenever we talk about cultural appropriation, especially in K-pop, it's always all about media. And how does media is actually intervene in our society? How does media is actually intervene within Malaysia versus South Korea? And how does these two different media presence in these two different countries will somehow answers or response to the cultural appropriation? That is the one thing that we would like to listen in the end of the day. And we were expecting these points coming from the opposition side, but somehow I would say that the opposition side, though you are winning, but you guys fail to accept the definition. By accepting definition here means you have to listen to what the Prime Minister has mentioned, and the leader of opposition have to say, yes, we agree with the area, we agree with we agree with your definition, and we believe that we are debating on the same point as well. This means that you are actually responding directly to what they have, what is their stance. Because without doing this, and you have your own interpretation and definition of K-pop, which is, to me, opposition side did not respond well on cultural appropriation, but somehow called K-pop as a whole, right? So upon but to us, when you have your own definition, is deeming as challenging definition by the Prime Minister, and you guys go on and on about it. So at the end of the day, the debate is not actually responding to one issue. You guys are actually building up arguments based on your understanding and stance of your sides, and somehow the debate is not clashing. And that's why, to me, that's why Shahinda only able to identify clashes between government side only. You somehow find it's hard to able to identify clash between the government side and the opposition side. And what we want to also listen in the end of the day is which proposal wins or which proposal stands based on based on each side punya argument. So to me, it's a very good attempt as a first time today, but my tip is to look at the theme and respond and build up arguments based on that theme. When we talk about media, we would like to point out uh, the media presence, number one, or number two, we want to talk about how people actually perceive based on this media. If you can see that how does this media influencing our society, break it to the youngsters, the teenagers, the kids, how does this actually prevailing to such your main issue, which is on cultural appropriation. Okay, so I think that's all for the feedback. So you may want to approach individually for our edge oral feedback if you want to. I think it can assist on that. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you to Mr. Safwan for the comments. And now we'll proceed to the photographic session. So for all the debaters and the adjudicators, please open your cameras and get ready for the photographic session. Thank you. Excuse me, Madam Safra, you're not going to open your camera, am I right?
Okay, hold on.
All right.
Okay.
So we'll be taking a picture. The screenshot will be taken in 3, 2, 1. And One more time. 3, 2, 1. Thank you. So you all may leave the Zoom room now. Thank you for
Okay,
all
thank you,
your
everyone.
cooperation.
You may stay if you want to for oral feedback if you want. Yang stay ni ada soalan ke?
No.
Perhaps you want to share how you guys prep just now during quarantine.
Can you repeat?
Uh-huh.
Can you repeat the question?
Perhaps you want to share the way you prep just now, the 30 minutes quarantine. You guys, did you guys cut the motions earlier than today?
Yes.
I see. You guys have the time.
Aku rasa
Okay.
Sir nak tanya,
Boleh.
kan tadi Sir kata kena respon kan? Itu opponent je ke kena respon ataupun government pun kena respon juga dekat opposite?
Respon apa?
Is that respond to what they say?
Both sides have to respond because it's debate. If is it a pidato, then we don't need to respond lah. Because right now, bila you side government, then obviously you have to find case from opposition, because opposition would have this one stance as well. The stance is not coming from the government only. It would also come from the opposition side, because for all we know, for you to fight on something, then you have to fight on, you have to have a stance, or you have to have a principle on why are you accepting or rejecting the motion. So as it's not the job of the opposition to only respond, the opposition also need to have a stance as to why they are rejecting the motion. And based on that stance, the government have to respond. Let's say the opposition, what was the main stance that you have just now, opposition? What was the main point just now? Tak ada. Bincang dulu.
Economy, relations economy.
That was the main point for opposition, economy.
Korang buka mic tu using culture to boost economy. Betul?
That is the main point. Economy aspect, fostering diversity.
Yes.
cultural lah.
Cultural diversification.
Cuba nak je main point situ.
Cultural diversification.
Cultural
Cultural diversification, that's benefiting economy.
Yes.
That's what we want to make. Anggur.
So,
Yes.
so in this case, the government have to respond as to why you think cultural diversification is not actually working based on opposition punya points. Okay, because the government will always have to like lawan lah. If you don't lawan, you just simply upholding your proposal without responding. Then orang akan kata, shot sendiri ni, tak nak respond pun. Macam tu. So opponent bila bila cakap pasal the main point, or we call it as principle or stance lah. So you guys have this one on cultural diversification, and that's the rising reason why we are embracing cultural appropriation. Betul tak? So bila kita cakap pasal cultural appropriation, true is actually valid, is actually justified due to cultural diversification. And then satu, you have to define what do you mean by cultural diversification. Sebab kita takkan mungkin faham in what angle are you talking about cultural diversification tu. And then the government would have to respond to that as well. Because bila you guys have your own proposal on regretting the rising up of cultural appropriation, and then the third speaker terus dah nampak, okay, this is the clashing point. Is it cultural appropriation or we should uphold cultural diversification? Or do cultural diversification is actually prevail in the end of the debate because of those arguments that we have mentioned? So bila kita dengar benda-benda tu, dan kita akan faham lah, okay, your point on upholding cultural diversification somehow stands, and we do need to reject the motion, and we need to somehow embrace cultural appropriation. Nampak? So in that manner, we would somehow see that you guys have points on upholding and protecting cultural diversification, and somehow reject lah. Kita tak regret on rising act of cultural appropriation because we really want it. Because due to this move, that's only we have this cultural, that's the only reason we are embracing cultural diversification. That's two. Because without that, you guys nak build point apa pun korang takkan tahu. Satu, biasa orang akan cakap lah, there are many factors. Satu, how it benefits the society, how it benefits the economy, how it benefits blah, blah, blah. Benda tu boleh, and somehow give you a better idea on what angle or what argument that you can build up. But somehow we also want to listen, kalau contoh, bila cakap pasal ekonomi, cerita semua pasal ekonomi. That will be your area, right? Kalau korang yang belajar pasal ekonomi tu, okay, diversification that will benefit the economy. How? Number one, bila cakap pasal cultural diversification, kita punya event akan cater lebih orang kata apa? Lebih ramai wider scope or audience. Number two, this cultural diversification will attract more people. This will improve kita punya ecotourism, blah blah blah. Macam-macam benda. So based on that points, kita nampak bahawa that this cultural diversification is really assisting or moving kita punya economy. Macam tu. So it's not about just opposition lawan je, bukan beta je, tapi dia kena apa? Dia kena adalah you guys punya proposal. Kenapa korang cakap macam tu? Dan nak kena gerak, dah nampak nak kena gerak. Next round bila?
11:30 sir.
11:30. Okay. Ada lagi soalan?
Thank you sir penerangan yang dah faham.
Terima kasih sir.
No problem.